Hello and welcome back to Culture Mosaic, our weekly check-in on the most up-to-date news from Vietnam's cultural scene, along with an in-depth exploration of Vietnamese culture. Today's special episode celebrates the 50th anniversary of the liberation of the South and National Reunification Day, featuring stories of both foreigners and young Vietnamese people and how they are honoring the occasion in the best way they know how, with technology, by colorizing old black and white photos of historical moments in culture and lifestyle, with cinematography through the first ever reveal of footage from the 1975 National Reunification celebration shown in its original colors in On the Mic, and with music through a concert led by a French conductor featuring the Điện Biên Phủ symphonic poem in connecting culture. Now let's buckle up and let the celebration begin. Young people revive historical memories and moments of National Reunification Day. Swedish cinematographer unveils rare color footage of Vietnam's 1975 reunification celebration in Stockholm. French conductor brings new life to Vietnam's revolutionary music. Now let's begin with the local news. A series of major events took place across the country to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the liberation of the South and National Reunification Day. A film week hosted by the People's Army Cinema from April the 22nd to the 25th screened 8 war-themed films, including documentaries and dramas. Screenings at Ngọc Khánh Cinema in Hanoi were free to the public as part of the Vietnam Film Days. These works honor the resilience and spirit of those who fought for peace and national unity. In Ho Chi Minh City, the art performance, The Country Filled with Joy, and the Peace Symphony concert both pay tribute to the sacrifices of previous generations who secured peace and reunification and honored the country's aspirations for growth. Meanwhile, major art events have been planned in the lead-up to April the 30th. The Vietnam National History Museum's exhibition, The Landscape of a United Country, and the Ho Chi Minh Museum's special showcase, Country Full of Joy, display hundreds of artifacts and stories that trace Vietnam's journey toward reunification. Both exhibitions remain open until August 2025. Meanwhile, several fireworks performances will take place from April the 27th to April the 30th at various locations in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Many art performances are also scheduled on the country's Reunification Day, featuring fascinating showcases of music, 3D, mapping, and drone light. Tens of thousands of Ho Chi Minh City residents on Tuesday gathered along the Lê Duẩn Street in District 1 to witness a vibrant parade rehearsal in preparation for the 50th anniversary of national reunification. Over 12,000 officers and soldiers from the armed forces, alongside students and civilians, took part in this second rehearsal. For the first time in a Vietnamese parade, military units from Laos, Cambodia also participated. As heroic music played, the steady marching steps connected the glorious past to the present. The event began with an elaborate welcome performance featuring hundreds of artists, students, and members of the public, conveying Vietnam's aspirations for peace and prosperity. The Vietnamese community in China hosted Vietnamese Áo Dài, the heritage that connects, a fashion event held from April the 18th to the 20th in Beijing. The event celebrated the 75th anniversary of the diplomatic relations and the Vietnam-China Year of Humanistic Exchange. It paid tribute to the cultural value of the Áo Dài while fostering pride and awareness about preserving this heritage. Renowned designers Tuấn Sanh, Han Phượng, and the Vietnam Village Club presented their Áo Dài designs at the event. Their celebrations combined traditional silk with innovative ideas, reflecting the fusion of past and present while promoting Vietnam's culture, people, and country. The 2025 Pho Festival ran from April the 18th to April the 20th at the Thăng Long Imperial Citadel Heritage, drawing both residents and tourists from Vietnam and abroad. Visitors sampled distinctive pho dishes from various regions across the country. Under the theme, The Quintessence of Vietnamese Pho, Heritage in the Digital Age, artisans offered interactive demonstrations of the complete pho-making process, from ingredient selection to noodle making and broth preparation. The festival featured AI applications that help visitors discover their favorite food dishes, marking the first use of AI technology for customer guidance at a culinary festival. This event aimed to connect businesses, craft villages, and brands while showcasing Vietnamese cuisine to capital residents and tourists alike. The world-famous opera Carmen, a timeless masterpiece celebrating its 150th anniversary, debuted at Hồ Gươm Opera this Thursday and Friday. Revived by the Royal Opera of Versailles, the Palazzetto Bruzane, and the ruined Normandy Opera House, Carmen at Hồ Gươm Opera faithfully recreated Carmen's original 1875 production, from stage directions and costumes to sound and setting. The performance brought Vietnamese audiences to 19th century Seville, Spain, where Carmen, the symbol of passion, freedom, and individuality, is told in its purest original spirit. Vietnam was the first destination in Southeast Asia for a faithful recreation of the 1875 iteration, highlighting its roles in blending European artistic heritage with the contemporary spirit of Vietnam. A group of young people has transformed faded black and white photos into vibrant color videos, vividly recreating the moment a tank breached the Independence Palace gates, a defining symbol of Vietnam's liberation of the South and reunification day on April the 30th, 1975. Over the past 4 years, these youth have also restored over 6,000 portraits of fallen soldiers. Despite being born in peacetime, years after the war had ended, they have chosen to retell history using modern technology and artificial intelligence. In this culture and lifestyle segment, we explore their innovative approach to honoring the past and sharing historical values with today's younger generation.
On April 30th, 1975, tank number 846 breached through the gates of the Independence Palace, with the liberation flag flying proudly. In early March this year, Phùng Quang Trung received a special restoration request from the very soldiers who had driven this tank 50 years ago.
Cái câu chuyện của bức xe tăng 846 này thì rất đặc biệt. Đó là một cái niềm mong mỏi của các bác cựu chiến binh tăng thiết giáp. Và các bác đã đau đó rất nhiều năm, là cả chục năm nay là tìm mà không thấy được hai bác chiến sĩ bộ binh ngồi đầu. Thì bởi vì là trong cái khoảnh khắc tiến vào cổng dinh độc lập như thế thì còn có sự yểm trợ của bộ binh nữa. Và qua đó thì có gửi gắm tôi là muốn là cháu Trung là có thể làm lại một bức ảnh rõ nét để các bác có thể là biết đâu đó có thể nhận diện và tìm một cách rõ ràng hơn.
The story of Tank 846 is just one of many projects that Trung and other young Skyline members have undertaken to share historical images and stories for the 50th anniversary of the liberation of the South and national reunification. They've brought the past to life by colorizing photos of street celebrations and recreating vivid scenes from historical heroes and events that previously existed only in written accounts.
Trước đây thì mọi người nhìn vào những bức ảnh giải phóng đó là những bức ảnh đen trắng. Cho dù là bức ảnh rất là rõ nét nhưng mà bức ảnh không có màu thì nó chưa được sống động. Chúng tôi là những người trẻ tiếp cận công nghệ thì chúng tôi cũng muốn là tận dụng cái công nghệ để khôi phục lại những các cái tư liệu về lịch sử.
Chúng tôi đã tái hiện lại một số cái chiến dịch đặc biệt, ví dụ như là chiến dịch tuyến đường Trường Sơn chi viện từ miền Bắc cho miền Nam, đặc biệt là với chiến dịch mà đặc công rừng xác là một trong những chiến sĩ đặc công tham gia ở tại khu rừng xác đấy để đánh vào kho xăng Nhà Bè, thì gần như là rất ít tư liệu, thậm chí là không có tư liệu mà chỉ có đọc trên sách vở thôi. Thì chúng tôi cũng tái hiện lại bằng cái thước phim để cộng đồng xã hội mọi người nhìn cách rõ hơn, đặc biệt là các bạn trẻ. Chúng tôi đã sử dụng công nghệ AI để có thể là làm cho nhân vật chuyển động, di chuyển, hành động, cử chỉ, lời nói này, thậm chí cả góc máy quay này. Góc máy quay mà từ trên xuống dưới, từ dưới lên trên, trái sang phải. Ngoài ra thì ví dụ như một cái phân cảnh khoảng tầm 5 giây thôi, nó chỉ là 5 giây thôi nhưng mà bọn tôi đã chạy lại cả 100 lần, rất nhiều công sức.
Beyond using AI to creatively retell history, the group has also reunited families with fallen soldiers in a deeply meaningful way. During April's historic days, families yearn to see their loved ones again, even if only through a single restored photograph, especially those whose graves remain undiscovered.
Tôi được nhận cái tin nhắn của gia đình liệt sĩ Dương Đình Minh khi mà cha mẹ mất cũng không có hoàn thành được cái điều ước đấy, đó chính là một cái tấm ảnh trọn vẹn cho liệt sĩ. Không có ảnh mà phải dựa vào hình ảnh của người thân, hình ảnh của em trai và miêu tả lại của gia đình. Nhìn những trường hợp như này thì mình càng phải cố gắng, mình phải thực hiện làm sao để trọn vẹn nhất. Và đặc biệt là trong cái dịp 30 tháng 4 này, bởi vì tôi được biết thông tin là liệt sĩ hy sinh trong quá trình mà tiến vào Sài Gòn, nhưng mà lại dừng chân ở Quảng Trị ở cái tuổi đôi mươi, rất là thương xót. Cái câu trả lời rõ ràng nhất có giống hay không đó chính là cái lời gọi của gia đình đã gọi anh của mình.
Anh ơi, hôm nay anh về. Nhưng là anh đã được về với bố mẹ và anh đã đi hoàn thành công việc của nhà nước làm cho.
Behind each image is a story of enduring longing and tears shared by those who have spent their lives searching for a glimpse of their lost loved ones. Over the past 4 years, 15 young members of the Skyline team have volunteered their time and skills to restore photographs for more than 6,000 families of war martyrs across the country.
Vượt qua nhiều khó khăn, nhiều thời gian anh em cũng căng thẳng bởi vì mỗi người vẫn có cuộc sống, công việc. Nhưng mà trong cái khoảng thời gian đó thì anh em vẫn bỏ một chút thời gian, một phần thời gian nào đó để tập trung làm cái thiết bị thâu đêm suốt sáng để tất cả các thành viên cùng cố gắng để tạo ra bức ảnh để kịp trao cho ngày hôm nay.
Đến thời điểm bây giờ 4 năm rồi thì cái động lực của chúng tôi vẫn luôn luôn là những cái giọt nước mắt đó, những giọt nước mắt hạnh phúc. Đó là những cái mong mỏi của gia đình suốt cả nửa thập kỷ. Qua hai công việc này, qua những bức ảnh này thì chúng tôi mong muốn là có thể là lan tỏa công việc tốt, lan tỏa cái sự tri ân đến với cộng đồng xã hội. Đặc biệt là các bạn trẻ trong cái thời buổi công nghệ số hiện nay thì chúng ta thì có rất nhiều cái cách thực hiện tri ân, rất nhiều cách khác nhau, nhưng mà làm sao cái mục đích chung của chúng ta là biết ơn thế hệ đi trước và tri ân quá khứ.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to witness the 1975 National Reunification Celebration? Rare color footage capturing April 30th, 1975 in Sweden lay untouched in archives for nearly half a century until Swedish director Bo Öhlén brought it to light. As an eyewitness to these historic moments, he collaborated with various Swedish organizations and filmmakers to create the documentary, The Vietnam Reunification Day in Stockholm in 1975. The film offers a moving glimpse into international solidarity and the far-reaching impact of Vietnam's victory. In this special segment of On the Mic, we invite you to meet director Bo Öhlén and discover the story behind this remarkable film.
Recently released to the public for the first time, this rare color footage captures a powerful moment in history, Vietnam's liberation of the South and National Reunification Day on April 30th, 1975. But this story unfolds not in Vietnam, but thousands of miles away in Sweden. The documentary The Vietnam Reunification Day in Stockholm in 1975 opens with thousands of Swedes flooding the streets to celebrate the Vietnamese people's triumph. Shot and edited with advanced equipment of the time, this 30-minute film stands as a remarkable piece of history. It vividly demonstrates how Vietnam's struggle resonated deeply with people far beyond its borders. Thank you, Director Öhlén, for speaking with VTV4 today. Now, we have just seen an excerpt from the documentary The Vietnam's Reunification Day in Stockholm in 1975, now being publicly released thanks to your discovery of a rare copy in the archives. And as this year marks 50 years since Vietnam's reunification, how does it feel to find a copy and being able to gift it to the Vietnam Film Institute?
Thank you for letting me in. At that time, it was very expensive to do films, so we could only do one single copy of that film. We sent the only copy we had to Vietnam with a government delegation that visit your country in the summer, and it fell into oblivion. Then a colleague of mine at the Broadcasting Corporation did some research at the Royal Library of Stockholm, and he found a data file with no name or no other executors mentioned, and it turned out to be the film. And I was so happy that anybody found that file, and now we can fulfill the purpose of that film, which was to convey the brotherhood and sisterhood between Sweden and Vietnam, and to show our support to your fight.
And you also used one of the most advanced film cameras at that time to produce the footage. And you are the main contributor of raw footage for this film. So what moment was the most memorable to capture for you?
Yeah, it was a German camera, a very high quality, expensive camera. I borrowed it from the Swedish television, and that camera is very expensive, and you have to be very careful about it. It was the best camera at that time for 16mm filming. You have a very clear view in the camera of the image you are recording, compared to other cameras at that time, so it really made it more easy to film. What I remember is that me and my wife, we took our bicycles because the traffic was choked in Stockholm, and we went down to Strandvägen in Stockholm and met the demonstrations where thousands of people came the street up, and we documented that demonstration. And so forth. We worked the whole day and got a lot of fantastic material that was really easy to edit to a film, yes.
And this film brings together footage from various organizations and individuals, but you were solely responsible for editing and producing the final version. So can you talk us through the process of editing this film?
The raw film, the development and so forth cost a lot of money, so we didn't film very much. So I didn't have very much footage to edit. I had to use what I had, but what I had was remarkably good and fantastic. I put together the most important parts, and that was most of the footage I had. I had an editing suite in my company, so I could edit freely. And when the copy was finished, I had to send it once again to the laboratory, because I had to do copy with optical sound on one side of the film stripe, so you could listen to the sound with that only copy. So it was quite complicated at that time.
The FNL for the People of Vietnam movement took root and gained powerful momentum in Sweden between 1965 and 1975. A wave of protests and marches against the war and fundraising campaigns swept across the country. Many of Sweden's influential figures joined the cause, including celebrated author Sara Lidman. Sweden also became the first Western nation to establish diplomatic relations with Vietnam in 1969. These archival images reaffirm the profound solidarity shown by the Swedish people to Vietnam, highlighting the enduring power of international unity in the pursuit of peace. Now let's go back to the beginning. What inspired you and other Swedish organizations and filmmakers to produce this film about Vietnam's reunification in Stockholm in 1975?
The biggest people movement in Sweden at that time was the Vietnam movement. We called it the FNL movement. When we had the news on the victory over the Americans and the liberation of what then was called Saigon, it was really a big moment I worked for Swedish Broadcasting Corporation at that time, and I went to the street together with other filmmakers who did the same, and we documented what happened that very day. And those Vietnam supporters were very happy, and they spontaneously took into the streets of Stockholm. The purpose of the film was all the time to make a film, to send it to Vietnam, to show how tens of thousands of Swedes were so happy with the victory. At that time, I think it reflected very well the situation between Sweden and Vietnam, and that's why I sent the data file to our embassy in Hanoi to make it available for a Vietnamese audience.
And finally, what message do you hope the audience take away from watching this film?
I hope that the film will find its audience in Vietnam. You have several platforms online and in film studios and so forth to show the film, and I hope the film will encourage Vietnamese people. They will know that they were not alone in that time, and it has its supporters around the world. The little country, Sweden, on the other side of the world, was very supporting their fight, and I think that will give a feeling of connections between our country.
Once again, thank you, Director Öhlén, for sharing such meaningful stories with us, and I hope that we get to welcome you in Vietnam soon.
Thank you very much.
Điện Biên Phủ, a name etched into the collective memory of a nation, symbolizing resilience, unity, and triumph against all odds. But how does a foreign conductor interpret such deeply rooted Vietnamese emotions through music? In this week's Connecting Culture, we meet award-winning music director and principal conductor Olivier Ochanine as he takes on the Điện Biên Phủ symphonic poem, a stirring orchestral work that channels the spirit of revolution into a high art form. After a decade immersed in Vietnamese life and culture, Ochanine brings a fresh yet respectful lens to this landmark composition, recently featured in the From Struggle to Triumph concert. Join us as we explore how Ochanine bridges cultural and historical narratives through music.
As the powerful notes of the symphonic poem Điện Biên Phủ rose into the air, the entire concert hall fell silent. Though composed by a Vietnamese artist, it was conducted and brought to life by a French conductor. Amid the celebratory atmosphere of Vietnam's national holidays, the performance felt like Olivier Ochanine's heartfelt tribute to the country he has called home for nearly a decade.
Conducting the Điện Biên Phủ of my friend Cham wasn't just conducting a piece of music that was very well put together. It felt like conducting history in a way. Every note in his piece carried struggle, sacrifice, and emotion. And I feel like many in the audience lived through some of these trials and tribulations of the war. And I think for them it really hit home. Many of us are foreigners, and we feel very privileged to be able to do it, especially when the music is so well written.
One of three pieces performed at the From Struggle to Triumph concert, the symphonic poem Điện Biên Phủ is condensed into a single movement. Rich with traditional musical elements, it vividly portrays a heroic chapter of the nation's history through its stirring melodies.
Do hưởng thơ Điện Biên Phủ thì nó là một cái tác phẩm mà nói về một cái chiến công vẻ vang của người Việt Nam ở trong cái thời chống Pháp. Nó ở trên một cái vùng Tây Bắc Và do vậy là tôi mô phỏng những cái âm hưởng của âm nhạc miền núi Tây Bắc. Tôi viết ra những cái đoạn nhạc theo cái cách như là thẩm mỹ của những cái dân tộc Thái hay là dân tộc Dao và nhiều cái dân tộc ở trên Tây Bắc.
Điện Biên Phủ, we worked on balancing because some of it gets quite thick and quite loud, and especially the triumphant part when the French are, when they lose the battle, and it's a very glorious moment. It gets loud, and we have to work on balancing, which is all part of the process.
Olivier Ochanine has won numerous international awards, such as a first prize at the 2015 Anto Dorati International Conducting Competition in Budapest, Hungary, and winner of the 2015 American Prize in Conducting Professional Orchestra Division. With all of these remarkable achievements, he chose to make his home in Vietnam, where he pursues his dream of elevating a Vietnamese symphony orchestra to international prominence.
Cái người nhạc trưởng, họ giống như là một cái người huấn luyện viên của một đội tuyển. Chúng ta cũng rất nhiều lúc mà những đội tuyển bóng đá của chúng ta đã đạt được những thành tích lớn là nhờ có những cái sự đóng góp của những vị huấn luyện viên tài năng của quốc tế. Thì một cái nhạc trưởng một quốc tế mà tài năng cũng cần thiết trong một dàn nhạc Việt Nam.
There's a lot more interest in music. There's more interest from the young people in classical music, which is very interesting to see in Vietnam, in Southeast Asia. It's not something I would have expected 10, 15 years ago. And my goal is that hopefully in the future we can get more Vietnamese musicians back from other countries who have studied abroad, let's say. We can excite more young people to not just try music, but to at least include music in their lives in some way.
And that concludes our program for today. To stay connected with us, you can download the VTV Go app from your Google Play or App Store, or visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go to enjoy more of our engaging content. Remember to join us next week for another captivating episode of Culture Mosaic. Until then, goodbye for now.